We're now live there. Hey there, Dennis. Welcome to everybody, our weekly MLM Mastermind training. My name's Craig Peliquin and my co-host,
Dennis Wilson.
Hey there, Dennis. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm just trying to get my Facebook Live going.
Oh, there we go. So he's going to get Facebook Live going. Now, today's topic, you can see we're not side by side today. We both were forwarded. I was forwarded first. I think, Dennis, you got about 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
A video, which is a pretty interesting one from John Oliver posting his multi-level marketing and how bad it is and how it's all a pyramid scheme and stuff like that. And we're kind of here to debunk it. We've gone through the video quite a bit, and we're going to talk a little bit as we go through as to what we agree with and what we don't agree with. What were your initial thoughts when you saw the video the first time there, Dennis?
I mean, when I first saw it, I was I felt a little bit of outrage because it was a fairly poor portrayal, and it was extremely related to one company that's fairly well known for doing some things that aren't so great. And so I felt a little bit angry at first, but then he also made some really, really good points. So that's why when you and I got discussing it, we thought maybe we'd get into sort of our sort of viewpoint on what he said that the industry deserves and what he said that he was just off base on, and what he said that was just such a little micro tiny piece of reality that if people have a bit more information, they wouldn't have come to the conclusions in the way he did for his comedic relief and ability to be a great comedian.
So those who don't know, it's something that it's on HBO, and it's last week tonight. And I'm going to play just the first little stop, and I've got it here on my smartphone to play so we can easily show it to you, everybody. So we're kind of using some different mediums together here. But let me just play the first little part so you see what we're talking about here. Hang on, gotta get it so it's visible.
I want to talk to you about an exciting opportunity. I just need 30 minutes of your time to explain it, but it has the potential to transform your life. I'm talking about multi-level marketing companies, or MLMs, companies like Mary Kay, Rodan & Fields, Nu Skin, Amway, and Herbalife. They sell different products, but generally MLMs have 2 main things in common. First, you don't see them on store shelves. You buy them through distributors like friends, family, and co-workers. And secondly, those distributors are always looking for more people to join them. And they have a pretty attractive message.
Why Herbalife? Because you get to be your own boss, earn extra money,
work from home.
Okay, so let's stop that there so that you can get an idea. This was the beginning of what it was. Now I'm going to fast forward through a few different things that he talks about. So we're going to assume that you have actually watched it. And up on the side in the chat bar here, what I should probably do with everybody there, Dennis, is I should probably share the URL so that people at least have an idea of what the video is that we're talking about. So I'm sharing
we'll give time references to everything, so you can always watch this video and then go back to our time references and see what we're talking about, or just watch this and go back, which will piece it all together for them. So I think it sort of works for everybody. So yeah, I think that's a great way to go.
Great, super. So you got a time reference for me to jump to the first little one. Where are we going to jump to first on this, Dennis?
We're going to go right to 135, please, Craig.
135. Okay, so we're going to go right into 135, and we're going to start playing for everybody. All righty. Of course, you know what? It's easier said than done on a smartphone to move it up and down. But here we go.
Or have considered signing up yourself.
There we go. So 135.
And I am out now. And before you brush this industry off, you should know collectively it did around $36 billion in retail sales last year in the US. You probably know someone who is considering joining an MLM, or who already has and is posting about it 10 times a day on Facebook or Instagram. And if you know someone
okay, so we'll talk about that, Dennis. We talk about this all the time, posting 10 times a day on Instagram or Facebook and that. We've had a lot of trainings on this. Maybe you could share a little bit.
Well, I mean, sadly on this one, he's right on the money. And I think anybody who gets a little bump on the nose because they're being silly and posting 10 times a day about their MLM company on Facebook absolutely deserves their friends to desert them and run away, because you're just doing it wrong. No different than if you have a new child and you're posting 10 times a day about pictures of your beautiful baby that nobody cares about after the first time. You know, it's just the same rules of engagement. You can't hammer people on something that's your greatest interest that might not be theirs, it's just bad practice. So he's absolutely right on the money. And houraday.com never recommends that you do this ever, if you're hoping to be successful.
Right. You know, we talk about the 80-20 rule applies to social media. You know what? Maybe 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 10 posts can be about your company or business. The rest should just be, you know, inspirational things, other things, but not about your MLM. Do that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, has to be about your life and has to be about, you know, creating that persona that you want to create. But yeah, your MLM, I mean, I think a real good rule of thumb would be 1 in 8 posts, 12.5%.
There you go. Now let's go a little bit further, and I'm at the 2-minute mark now. I think that was our next spot that we wanted to talk about, Dennis.
205.
205. Okay, so
based on their
there we go.
sales and the sales of people they recruit in turn. Just look at Vima. A few years ago, a hidden camera caught a then distributor for that company walking a prospective recruit through just how easy it can be.
Let's say you signed up 3 friends. Okay. So then you and I would help those 3 friends sign up 3 friends and get their $700. Now there's 9 people there, right? And we help those 9 people sign up their $300 that they get $700. How do you get their money back?
Oh, he's right.
Kind of get your money back.
Kind of get your money back, Dennis.
Right.
I mean, really, kind of.
Well, so he's again bang on the money. Nobody should ever represent this business as being easy and you just get involved and you sign up with friends, you get rich. You should certainly not be talking about $700 checks that you can pick up so effortlessly. I mean, it's just all bunk. It's what's wrong with our industry. So I'm with them 100% on this. The truth of our industry is good enough. We shouldn't be embellishing it with all these great big huge numbers that most people don't earn because they don't work hard enough. I mean, we just shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. And now he goes a little bit further in there, and we talk about, you know, the horrible, terrible word that everybody's so scared of in our industry, the pyramid word. Hang on. Here, let me bring it up here.
And if you are thinking, well, hold on, that business structure sounds familiar. Isn't that a pyramid scheme? Well, there was a journalist waiting outside to ask the exact same question.
It's not an illegal pyramid scheme. It's a direct selling network marketing company.
Is it shaped like a pyramid, the business structure?
It's shaped like a pyramid, yes.
But you're saying it's not an illegal pyramid.
It's not an illegal pyramid scheme.
Oh, I get it. So it's not a pyramid, it's just pyramid shaped.
Okay, so let's talk about the pyramid, the old pyramid scheme.
Well, I mean, sadly, the guy wasn't very good at handling the objection. He didn't obviously feel that he was being filmed or what he said mattered because he handled it very poorly. I mean, yes, there's illegal pyramid schemes. There's legal pyramid schemes. And the reality is they're trying to make all of them sound illegal. And quite frankly, the way that guy presented it, he presented it like an illegal pyramid scheme. So it makes sense that he's in hot water. So if you don't want to be called an illegal pyramid scheme, don't represent your business like one. Talk about how product moves to the end user. Talk about how you resell a little bit of product. You recruit a sales team that resells some product. You're leveraging your time through building a sales team that sells tons and tons of product. Talk about the business properly instead of these insane lies and making it sound like a shell game.
There you go. That's so true. And then they go further. This is actually my favorite part about this. He actually gets into the problem of celebrity endorsements. Like, this is a bad thing. This is really fun. Let me share this with everybody here.
Outside, these companies do have the trappings of legitimacy. Many have high-profile celebrity endorsers. Vima had noted science expert Jenny McCarthy. Advocare has esteemed ball thrower Drew Brees. And an MLM called Max International had this guy.
After more than a year of due diligence, Gene and I joined Max International as home-based distributors and media spokespersons.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall.
So, you know, there we go. And I'm telling you, he's not a good actor in real life. He's definitely not a very good actor when he's doing the commercial either. Sorry, you know.
I'm not sure if the teleprompter's letters were big enough for him to read. That was part of the problem.
But let's talk about celebrity endorsements. What's the matter with a celebrity endorsement? I mean,
well, again, he was trying to say they have trappings of legitimate companies, but I mean, that's kind of rude. So that's like, you know, I mean, Nike uses Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and God knows how many people. I mean, Wheaties has had how many people on their box of cereal over the years? Like celebrity endorsements. So all he's really doing is saying that actually MLMs are very much like normal businesses because the bigger ones that can afford to pay millions of dollars to celebrity endorsers to endorse them. I'm sure that Chuck Norris didn't join Max International as a distributor for his $1,000 and resell whatever product they sold. I'm quite sure that he was paid $1 million to say that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's funny, if Nike pays Tiger Woods $183 million a year to endorse their products, that's good business. But if an MLM pays Chuck Norris to poorly read from a teleprompter, that's suddenly something evil and awful. It just makes me nuts how the same thing in normal business gets misconstrued by a comedian like this to be something awful and heinous just because it makes good TV.
Yeah, bad news sells better. And you know what? Actually, the interview was pretty awful and heinous. So, but
well, and it was all, like you said, it's all fake laughter and it's all everything. So it's completely contrived. It's not even live. It's not a live audience. It's the same laughter over and over. So, like, come on. Yeah. I know that you'd think they could do better if they're trying to make our industry look bad. I think he's just making his own industry look bad.
Well, let's talk about making your industry look bad. Now, some of the snippets that they used are taken out of context.
Very much.
Look at this next one.
Who can enjoy cult-like status.
Cult-like status.
J.R. Reidinger, CEO of Market America. At company conferences, the guy makes quite an entrance.
I mean, is that wrong?
Well, Craig, I mean, I was waiting for Steve Jobs to pop up. That's exactly what he does at every bloody product launch before he passed on. Elon Musk. I mean, name almost any of the people that we think are amazing business people. They all enter the stage like that at their corporate annual meetings. They all enter their stage like that at whatever product launch they're doing that they're trying to get the public and their employees excited about. So it's funny, once again. Now, granted, some of the stuff that this guy goes on to do is just plain bizarre. But on the other hand, sometimes Steve Jobs was pretty darn quirky. So, I mean, I don't get how, once again, a normal strategy in traditional business becomes something that's all cult-like. Are you telling me that Apple's not cult-like? Like, come on, right? The people who follow Elon Musk, they're not cult-like. Richard Branson. I mean, these people have cult-like followings. It's talked about all the time in media. Okay, so the president of a multi-billion-dollar MLM company does too. I don't get it. I don't get why it's bad or it's wrong. I just don't get it.
Now, I mean, on the comedy side, if you are watching this and you go watch the actual video when we're done or you're doing it, I mean, when he's talking to the tombstone of Joe Nobody, I mean, it is pretty funny from an outsider point of view looking in, but this is a corporate event. This is full of distributors, customers. And he's talking about basically it's easier to give birth than resurrect the dead, I'm guessing. It's either dead distributors or dead prospects. I actually thought it was kind of funny, but, I could see how they make it looks a little weird. I'll give them that.
Well, with the way it was represented when you watch it, I mean, I felt sad for the guy because I think even when he sees that clip, he's going to like, oh my God, did I look that goofy? Like, I mean, I just think sometimes you're caught up in the moment when you're on stage and you're not really, the audience didn't see that camera angle.
No, it was pretty weird. But let's talk a little bit. Let's get forward into the, let's go and talking about, that was the cult-like following, but we also have the dangling of vast lifestyle. I mean, MLM is about lifestyle. I got to give him some. We'll play the clip here for everybody, and then we'll have a quick little comment about it. Okay.
The dangling of vast lifestyle improvements is at the heart of the MLM pitch. Their materials feature flashy cars and luxury travel that you can achieve. And just watch a distributor from Youngevity walk you through a future dream scenario in exquisite detail.
We're not going to put you through that. You can watch that on your own. Because you know what? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But we do have a little bit of to talk about. There are ways that we can properly go out there and explain. Because you know what? Most MLM companies, you can earn a free car and you can earn cruises. And there is the lifestyle that is available to you. It's available to everybody. And some of these things you could never get in your traditional job. You get a little attaboy pat on the back and they give you a new title, but that's about it. So So when you're watching it, what was your thoughts when you saw, and once again, understand, a leader in an MLM company at an MLM convention of peers in their company trying to get them all excited.
And very likely 10 or 15,000 people in front of her suffering from some nerves until she got rolling. I mean, I felt very, very sorry for Denise, because I don't think this was her best performance. I think the way she handled it was a bit discombobulated. It was a bit hard to follow. I'm not completely sure what her point was all the time. But I don't know if that's a reflection on our industry. She did her best. She got tied up in trying to create dreams for people. And I don't think that's so bad. But I think she just got lost. I think she had a panic attack and didn't present it very well. So was it the best things to say or the best way to get people excited about their lifestyle? Maybe not. But, forget how well she brought it across. She was on camera and it was used against her by a guy whose life is, by a guy who earns his living by exploiting people's weaknesses and poor moments for comedy. So let's give it that, if he found someone eloquently speaking, it wouldn't have been very darn funny, would it?
No. And now part of if you go and watch it a little bit further, we're not going to play it. The company actually kind of throws her under the bus after this comes
Compliance
out.
Officer.
She said things that weren't really part of it. But keep that in mind. I mean, companies have terms and conditions, rules, what you can say. They've got things that are part of the company script and not. You know what? You've got to realize that somebody has one of these. Everybody's got one of these in their hand at your convention, at your business presentation. They all have cameras and they all have video recorders. And you're going to end up somewhere on social media, recorded. And what's that you got there?
That's a micro spy camera for $12 out of China, baby. I put that on a counter and it'll record you doing your presentation and you won't even notice it. It actually doesn't work, but it was $12. So.
But what I'm saying is you need to, in today's social media age, when you're talking to one person, you should be thinking that eventually that whatever you're saying could end up, in this case, in front of over 4.5 million viewers that have viewed this video so far. So, you really got to make sure that you're following the corporate direction and what they've told you to go and do. Now, Dennis, I mean, you see this a lot of time. You've helped launch over 550 MLM companies. And you tell them to always worry about what they're saying and making product claims, and we'll get into that in a little bit. What do you find the biggest challenge there?
The biggest challenge is members. The company can have a perfect corporate message, done compliant, not all crazy. And sure enough, the first guy that comes along that starts to push the business starts to argue with the company that they need to make the simulation slides bigger. They need to show bigger money. They need to show bigger. The car is not expensive enough on the brochure. And most of the time, it's the distributors that put pressure on the company to make it more exciting. But the reality is if somebody came on board with you and worked an hour a day for 12 to 18 months, and at the end of it all was earning $300 to $500 a month of residual income because they built a team of salespeople who sold a bunch of product retail, would that be so bad? $500 a month to your average North American is life-changing. This is $500 a month that comes in over and over and over and over that allows you to qualify for home business deductions. This is life-changing. And half the time you might be talking to someone that only makes $35,000 or $40,000 a year. So this is a 10 or 15% boost to income. So the truth is good enough. Why do we keep doing this? The truth is good enough.
Yeah, absolutely, Dennis. Now, in the next segment that I'm going to share, and it's it kind of goes into this. The truth is good enough, but we do make jokes even in our own industry. About networkers are liars. They're not liars. They tend to be exaggerators. I mean, we can laugh at our industry, but there are things that do need to be corrected, and sometimes we can laugh at them, but we have to take them seriously. And let me just play this clip.
In the 80s, that one product helped relieve everything from venereal disease to tumors to bedwetting. And back then, their founder, Mark Hughes, was asked by a Senate subcommittee to answer experts who'd called his diet product into question. And this was his response.
I think if they're so expert in weight loss, why were they so fat yesterday? It seems to me they don't make any jokes, but I do think that they ought to use our product.
I love that. I mean,
that's just pure funny.
Sure
And so true. Why are you considered a diet expert if you're absolutely obese? You know, that shouldn't be allowed.
It is funny, but then they're pulling something out and showing us in 2009 in 2016 that happened back in 1980s.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
Things have changed, and I mean, this whole rant that he goes on, Dennis, is really pointed at Herbalife, which
it's unfortunate.
An older, I mean, they're 36, 37-year-old company.
Yeah. And they have an old-fashioned stair-step breakaway program that encouraged you to buy your group volume to get your check. You know, you're going to earn a $7,000 check if you're whatever director, but if you don't have 5,000 group volume, you're not going to get it, and you're only at 3, so you might as well buy 2 because you're going to get 7. That's a net of 5. Then you become garage qualified, and he doesn't talk about that part. He talks about all these people that lost all their money chasing their qualifications. And I mean, in today's world, I mean, I've written personally 100 comp plans. I don't have a single comp plan that forces people to buy a whole bunch of product every month, right? Enough for personal use? Yes. Enough to retail a little bit? Yes. But some kind of group volume requirement that could put $5,000 or $10,000 of product in 1 month into your garage? No, this is a very, very much thing of the past of the Herbalife, Amway, New Skin generation of comp plans. Things have highly evolved from there. New companies would never get away with it because they're not grandfathered under the previous laws. I mean, it is frustrating that this thing's all based upon a company that the model, I mean, I've been writing MLM software now for 20 years, and I haven't once written a stair-step breakaway program. So in 20 years, I haven't written a comp plan or even had a customer come to me to have us program such a comp plan. So it's really frustrating that his whole rant is on a way of doing business that doesn't really exist that much in our industry anymore, except for a few companies.
Right, and back then, I mean, you became what's known as a direct distributor. This was before the internet. This was before you were able to order online, and you would buy the products direct from the company, and your distributors would buy from you. And that's why it was called that stair-step breakaway, because, you know, then you'd break away, buy direct, and these things just don't exist anymore, and that's where the terminology of being garage qualified or front-end loading would be the other way of doing it, where companies sell you thousands and thousands, and back in the day you could have companies that would sell you $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of product up front for you to go and sell. And you know, that was kind of like a franchise arrangement. But you know, these things don't happen anymore. There's, you know,
I mean, yeah, legitimately they do still happen in some of the older companies that have comp plans like that. So obviously they're still happening in Herbalife because some of their examples are fairly recent. But in general, any company that started in the last 10 years that isn't with that kind of a comp plan, it won't be happening. So if you're with a company where that's possible to happen to you, you might want to consider getting out of the cult mentality and going to see if there might be a better company for you that doesn't have those type of requirements, because they're not the norm at all. They are the exception at this point in time of our industry. Now, the one thing that I think puts context around this whole thing. So in case anyone's really worried about what this fella is saying about our wonderful industry, he then goes on to tell everybody that they don't need weight loss shakes because in the 80s they had cocaine. And he's saying we still have cocaine. So he's suggesting that you don't go buy weight loss products, you just start a coke habit and you'll be fine. So let's keep in context that this guy is being funny.
I thought it was kind of funny. But let's talk about products right now. Let me fast forward to around the 11-minute mark on his video, and we're talking about people making some product claims. Let me just.
It even helped one woman get pregnant.
I'm 40 years old, got my first pregnancy.
Well, that is obviously.
Let's talk about product claims.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to realize that someone in the audience has their iPhone and they're recording you. So you shouldn't be saying things that are uncompliant. Now, in fairness to the congestive heart failure getting solved, I mean, it's very possible that it wasn't the product specifically that solved her problem, but she got involved in an MLM company that was all about wellness and vitamins and supplements, and she might have just got herself healthier and started to exercise and do stuff in a more positive mindset. That, coupled with good nutrition, may have helped her congestive heart failure. But it's unfortunate that she gets up and says, these products solve my congestive heart failure. What if she told the whole story? My lifestyle changed and this happened and I started to get healthier. It would actually be a better story than saying this magic goo solved my congestive heart failure, because who's buying it?
Exactly. Let's go then a little bit further into about 11.5-minute mark there now. That should work.
Claims like that because they are desperate to move excess product. You see, broadly speaking, under Herbalife system, distributors can get bonuses and massive discounts on products based on how much they buy, which can be a huge incentive to buy in bulk. For instance, let's say you're selling Herbalife's disgusting creamy chicken.
Okay, we're not going to get into the into the products and that type of stuff, but this really is just more than what we were talking about. Old compensation plan doesn't really happen anymore, but it was happening in companies like Herbalife, and you know what? It's wrong. You shouldn't be able to buy your paycheck.
When they started, there was no computers. We didn't just do an online order and it all worked out. The reality is the direct guy bought a whole bunch of product from the company, and then his distributors came and bought it from him, and then eventually it got distributed to the end user customer that those people were selling to. So everything was very, very different when these companies started. There wasn't computers. There was no way to track the complex commission plans that we have today. So it all came from a different basis. And then let's also remember back then, just to buy into something like Herbalife, compared to however much you can lose starting your own business, because it was pre-franchises. So there wasn't even the franchise option. It was go start your own business, or hey, for 10 grand, you could try doing this and maybe get lucky. So, you know, the whole premise has changed. I'm not trying to defend them that what they're doing today is good, but the whole premise has changed. And this guy's whole rant is about a company and a practice that just, I mean, it just doesn't exist in all of my clients. It doesn't exist once. So it frustrates me that he's tarring the industry with it.
And let's now we're talking about compensation plans. He does kind of get into the fact how complicated a compensation plan is. And here's John Tardall, the board of directors of Herbalife, trying to explain their comp plan. It is kind of funny, but here we go.
Here we go. Take a look at this example. Now, when E places a 4,000 volume point order at 42%, this counts as...
Yeah, I'm already done watching it because you see, that's how exciting comp plans are. Now, Dennis, you deal with comp plans every single day of your life, building them. Maybe you can have a little chat. What about the complications of comp plans?
Well, you know, the most frustrating part about it is people complain about the complication of comp plans all the time. My clients, I design a comp plan. Oh, it's got to be simpler. It's got to be simpler. The reality is, most commission plans are getting complicated because of the government regulation that's required, right, to get around, to comply with the government regulations. There's all this stuff that has to be done. So suddenly a simple commission plan becomes really, really hard to understand because you're trying to tick all the boxes to make sure that you're compliant with what the government says versus the intent of trying to do the right thing by your members. So you can't just go do the right thing by your members anymore, because that'll probably leave you non-compliant. So it's a real problem. Your comp plan can't be simple anymore, or you probably will fall out of compliance. It's just that simple.
Right. And let me just get back. I was just trying.
Well, and we'll talk a little bit about how, you know, is it so weird that MLM comp plans are complicated? I mean, I'm sure if anyone on this call is with a life insurance company or a financial planning organization or a mutual fund selling corporation, I'm betting that you struggle to keep up with how you actually earn money.
That's true. That's true.
Sales is complicated. Commission plans are complicated. It's not just MLM.
Now, later on in it, he takes some testimonials, and I think he really takes them out of context. And some things are just being, this lady Sharon here talking about, you don't make money by selling the product.
You make a little, not much, not enough to pay the bills that are racking up. You make money from signing people up.
Of course. It's like that famous sales.
So, You know, that's the problem with our industry is people don't know how to explain it properly. You don't get paid to enroll people. That is illegal. That is recruitment. You can't be paid to recruit. I'm sorry, I'm out of focus, Dennis, and I don't know if it's going to let me jump back in. You know, you're paid on product sales. Maybe you can explain the difference while I figure out my why I'm out of focus.
Well, again, I mean, that's really irritating to me that she sort of got busted for saying that. I mean, it's wrong that she explained it that way, but it's also frustrating because the reality is really simple. You know, the reality is in any business, if you're being paid to simply sell a product to an end user, you're limited by how much time there is in the day. The whole concept of MLM is, yes, you're building a sales team that ultimately moves a whole bunch of product to retail customers. If your company is telling you that you make all your money by signing up other distributors to buy a whole bunch of product and not sell it ultimately to a retail customer, then you deserve whatever's coming your way because you're doing the business wrong. The whole idea is no different than, I mean, there's that little company out there called IBM. I think their last sales convention, they had 14,000 sales reps there. Now, why would they do that, Craig? Why would they have 14,000 sales reps if it's all about selling one product to one person? Because they want to leverage. So they hire 14,000 of them, and now they can sell more to more people faster because they have more leverage. MLM is just about building a sales organization of people who are selling product at retail by way of enrolling people who buy at wholesale to go sell retail, and you earn a little piece of the organization that you develop. So it's very, very frustrating that the way she said it made it sound like you get paid for recruiting people, and she's not connecting it to the ultimate movement of product. But on the other hand, if you're with one of those MLM companies where your products are so expensive at retail that you can't retail them, then again, maybe you should be evaluating as to what kind of a company you're with.
Right. Then he goes into the old, you can't possibly, there's not enough people on the planet to be able to justify duplication. 5 people get 5 people get 5 people, and in 13 cycles. Well, hang on, let him say it for you.
These schemes tell you that you can make money by just recruiting 3 or 4 or 5, let's say 5. Then you let the 5 do their 5. That gives you 25. What they don't show you is that you could only do that 13 cycles, and you would exceed the population of the Earth.
I love that. And you would exceed the population of the Earth. I mean, Dennis, you just did some digging on the population. What you got some good math here for everybody.
Yeah, 260,000 people have been born up to this point today in the world. So this saturation concept is ridiculous, first of all, because in any MLM, tens of thousands of people in your organization will put you at gangster, stupid, crazy money. So the concept that you need to sign up the whole world or that eventually the whole world gets involved, come on, man. If there's 260,000 people born so far today, that means there's probably 260,000 people that turned 22 or 25 or 40 or whatever your target market is. So this concept that it's going to get saturated and it's not just sort of a market share competition type of a thing really blows my mind. You know, millions of MLM distributors around the world could make humongous money and still not have everyone in the world signed up into their MLMs. Much like Procter & Gamble sells to almost everyone on the planet and makes, you know, billions and billions and billions of dollars of profit as a result of it. And yet still, there's a whole bunch of other competitors picking away at their market share. It's a market share issue. It's are you going to build a bigger team than the next guy? Is everyone getting in it to make gangster money? No, lots of people are getting it in to earn enough to get free products. Lots of people are getting in to earn $300 or $400 a month. Lots of people are going to give up as soon as they find out that they have to do a little bit of work. Shame on all of you that say just sign up and you're going to get rich, because you're the ones making this problem, right? Tell people honestly, get in, learn what you don't know. Let's do it together. We learn to retail a bunch of product. All the people who say no to our business, let's get busy.
And duplication is not 5 get 5 get 5. We don't teach that. I mean, nobody teaches that everybody's going to get 5. Heck,
oh yeah, they do.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, no, there's companies out there still teaching 5 get 5 get 5.
Yeah.
We won't mention them by name, but most of them are the same ones of the Herbalife era.
So if you teach, and you teach this on the website, the power of leverage and duplication. It's why we got involved in the industry, 24, 25 years ago. The idea that if you could introduce one person a month who commits to do the same thing. Now that's the big caveat. That's what everybody forgets. Who commits to do the same thing. You're never going to get two. You're not even going to get one, get one. Doesn't work. It breaks down. It does. But if you don't duplicate perfectly, and you never will, have you ever seen any one of your clients ever duplicate where everything just worked out perfectly, magically, and everything worked? No.
I've seen even weird stuff where like one guy enrolled 13 people and had 29,000 people in 3 months. I mean, sometimes people actually do it faster than the average. Can you believe it? People do things faster than the average? Isn't that what average means?
Crazy, isn't
Sorry,
it?
average.
Let's go fast forward a little bit, because we're kind of running getting to the end here. He tries to commit to talk about the pyramids or multi-level marketing compared to traditional business. Hang on, let me bring this up.
This is great.
That whole pyramid scheme question.
I go back to any company. I started in Disney as a director, and then I went to be executive vice president and then president of the international entity of the company. So I moved up 6 or 7 levels. And at the top was sitting the CEO of the company, Michael Eisner. Is that a pyramid? Is that any different than what we're doing here?
Yes!
No!
Completely different.
No!
It's not!
Yeah, now this I just have to read. This I just have to read from my prepared notes. I mean, first of all, this poor Michael tries to get a familiar concept across, and he does it really, really badly. So he gets to run an MLM not knowing how to handle standard objections. That's pretty cool. And again, that kind of also makes sense because his job's not to handle regular objections. His job is to run a company full of people who know the answers to regular objections, who handle these things and teach it to the masses. That aside, the CEO of Ford, Mark Fields, made $18.57 million in 2015, yet the average line worker at Ford made $60,000 to $100,000. That means the CEO made 232 times the average factory floor worker as the top of the Ford pyramid. So, what's the real difference? What's the real difference? Well, the real difference is MLM allows anybody willing to learn and work. Yes, we said it. Learn and work hard to build a team to be at the top of their own pyramid, making incomes considerably better over time than a normal job would afford them. And guess what? Possibly better income than some of the people down in their pyramid that aren't working as hard and don't have as much experience.
Did you use the P word?
It's not overnight, it's not easy, but it's way less politically motivated. It's not tied to what university you graduated or butts you kissed climbing the corporate ladder to the top of that pyramid. So is it an inferior way compared to a paid salary that, sorry, if you grew up in a disadvantaged area and never went to university, you're never going to get. You're not even going to get a chance at it. So I don't like it. I hate that he makes this thing all sounds so bad and awful and say that corporate America is not like a pyramid. It's the same stuff.
Sure it is. And I mean, and it's the difference in it earlier on, if you know how to handle the objections, there is the pyramid itself isn't illegal. There are legal pyramids and there's illegal ones. Illegal pyramids and legal pyramids. Typically what happens though is that illegal pyramids disguise themselves as legal ones. Right, as network marketing companies, and that's what we get the bad name. And there's ways to go out and figure out if and we've done trainings on this in the past with our MLM Masterminds, Dennis. And there's ways to determine if we're a legal or an illegal pyramid. I mean, just look and make sure there's a product of value. Make sure you're not paid to recruit people. Oh, did you hear that? You don't get paid to recruit people. You get paid on product sales. Oh, gee, that kind of sounds like traditional business. He really starts poo-pooing that whole industry. Let's go a little bit further and let's listen to this.
That interview, if you could have just shown how much money distributors get from selling product to actual retail customers, but conveniently, Herbalife didn't keep records of those figures. Now,
didn't keep record of their retail figures. Now, shame on them, but once again, old company, old software, weren't set up for that at the beginning. But you and I were just talking about it earlier. There's a company that a lot of people shop at that'd be a very similar concept, and that would be Costco. I mean, think about it that way, Dennis. Does Costco keep track of all the retail sales that their small businesses that buy and resell? Would Costco have any idea what those retail sales were?
I'm pretty sure Costco doesn't know that I was at little ABC convenience store yesterday and bought myself a chocolate bar. I'm pretty sure they don't have my customer data, yet that guy bought that chocolate bar in a great big box of chocolate bars from Costco at a cheaper price than I paid for it, even though I have a membership at Costco and I could buy a whole box for cheaper, but I don't. So this is legitimate business where people sell big boxes of things to businesses and people who then sell them to other people, and the parent company has no idea who the end retail product customers were. Totally legitimate in MLM, but according to Mr. John here, totally creepy and awful and absolutely unforgivable that Herbalife didn't know the data of each and every retail customer.
There you go. And like, once again, you're dealing with an old example. And by the way, on that whole Costco issue, Dennis, last I checked, they have a membership fee, don't they?
And you know what? It's a really funny thing. Like if you go to Costco and pay their membership fee but don't buy anything at all, a year later after not using it, they don't give you grace and let you have another year. You got to pay the membership fee again, even though you didn't use it at all. So you paid to get nothing because you didn't use it, and they don't just give you another free year. It's a bit of bone of a contention for me. Oh, hang on. I got confused. That's what customers say, their members say about their membership fees in MLM. Oh, but it's okay if Costco does it. Sorry, I got confused. That's the MLM example that people get mad about it. Nobody cares if Costco does it. Right. Sorry, okay, I'm straight again.
That's good. Now, and in all seriousness, I mean, he's using Herbalife because the FTC just recently hit Herbalife hard. And, well, I'll play it for everybody. Hit him pretty hard.
The FTC stopped short. Perhaps it ensured Herbalife agreed to a settlement in which they neither admitted nor denied wrongdoing, but did pay $200 million and agreed to significant new changes. But the content of...
So I mean, there you go. FTC went after them. They were doing some old business practices and that don't work in today. And retailing is really, really important, and having real customers is really important. But that's why he's going in. There's a low-hanging fruit right now, but he's trying to make an example of the entire industry of multi-level marketing, where there's literally only a handful of companies that still operate with those methods.
Yeah, and it's even more interesting that he makes a joke about how the FTC wouldn't come out and say directly that Herbalife was a pyramid and that they admitted to it. Because we all know that if that would have happened, Herbalife would have spent another $200 million of their very, very large cash reserves fighting back. And it would have become an unprofitable transaction for the FTC, at least in my personal opinion, with a little bit of conspiracy thinking. The settlement came about because the FTC said, we need a win. And Herbalife says, well, we really don't want to keep spending money. And $200 million and agreeing that we're going to fix our business practices is a whole lot cheaper than continuing to fight this in court to ultimately come to a different settlement. So everybody won, but let's not pretend like this was a huge victory for the FTC. If they were so sure, they just would have come in and absolutely got judgment as an illegal pyramid, but they didn't. They negotiated a settlement, as they usually do. So again, it's very frustrating for me. And again, I'm not even against most of what they made Herbalife do, because there are a lot of things out there that Herbalife does that I don't personally agree with. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, the way it was back then, whatever. But I don't think it's right, as an MLM consultant, some of the things that they do, like these big volume purchases. So anyways, welcome to the real world.
There you go. Now, he does go into talking about Latin America expansion as a bad thing. There's no point in me even playing it. I mean, it's on there. I mean, he talks about going into the Latino market and makes that sound bad. How is expanding around the world and allowing other people the opportunity to business, how can that possibly be bad? He finds a couple of people that lost some money because they didn't do the business right, or they bought too much powder, they weren't taught to do it properly. Use them as examples. I don't get it, Dennis.
Well, I mean, it frustrates me a bit too, because at 1825, before the Latin expansion part, he talks about how the substantial amount of people lose money. So what I'm curious about is with most of my clients, people join and they buy enough products for themselves and maybe their families at the most to use. Most of the time, a single person or a couple can consume everything required to stay active in the commission plan. So I don't understand. So does that mean that because you bought product for a year and a half that you consumed that probably replaced spending you were doing elsewhere anyways, or gave you some products you weren't buying that you were liking? Does that mean that I get to say at the end of the year, because I joined ABC MLM Company and I bought $150 worth of products that I took and I liked, that means at the end of the year I lost a whole bunch of money? Did I lose, almost $2,000, or did I get the benefit of the product? So I'm not sure what always they mean when they say everybody lost money. You're allowed to take all your product purchases and say that that was a loss of money. Then I guess every MLM on the planet is guilty, because there's lots of people who just joined to be a wholesale customer, so therefore they all lost money. Forget that you actually wanted the product. So does that mean then that everyone who went on a subscription with Birchbox or the $1 a shave shaving club, $1 a day shaving club, does that mean at the end of the year they get to say that Birchbox lost them $600 last year? It's kind of ludicrous. Again, we're making these comparisons that just aren't really right to be made. And again, we're talking about Herbalife, where there were these big product commitments, so you could officially lose money. But even then, it's a bit tricky, because you bet you that a bunch of these people who said how much money they lost were buying $4,000 worth of product to qualify for a $5,000 check. So did they really lose $4,000, Craig? Or are they making it sound worse than it was because they're pissed off about all the money they would have made if they wouldn't have had to buy the product? There's always another side.
Yeah, there's always three sides to every story, right? My side, your side, and then the truth, which is usually somewhere in the middle. If you jump forward, Dennis, and I think this is kind of comical myself, about the 1935 mark, and he talks about product placement being a bad thing for an MLM company. I mean, take a look at this. This is funny.
It's very subtle. Just see if you can spot it.
Mira, look, it's called Herbalife. This is going to help you have more energy, and it's also going to help you face all the problems you have. Believe me.
I love it. Product placement being done by a network marketing company. It's brilliant, and he's making it sound like this is the worst thing. I mean, there are companies out there that literally all they do is product placement for movies. I mean, I can think of Castaway right off the top of my head with Tom Hanks. Do you think FedEx got all that advertising for free?
Nope, not at all. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's so normal in regular business. So once again, normal business does it. Brilliant people who've come up with the way of doing things that's great for business. But when an MLM does it, oh, dirty, scammy people doing stuff that's unreasonable.
Exactly. So sorry, I'm just trying to get to our next little spot there. Hard luck stories, Let me just bring me back here. I'll come back in. We do hear them, and bad news, we talk about this all the time. Bad news sells better than good news. So much easier to do bad. And there's no point in me even putting them in here. I'm not going to play it, but it's around the 21 minute mark. He starts getting into the bad luck stories. What's your take on that?
Again, there's three versions to every story. And I do understand in a Herbalife style plan, a greedy distributor could convince people to do things that's probably not in their best interest. And I would guess that Herbalife doesn't actually officially allow it. And that's where I get really frustrated, because I'll write a perfectly compliant commission plan and then watch members abuse it. But because the members are big enough that the company's worried about redirecting them, they let it go on. And next thing you know, you have a bad practice happening within a perfectly legitimate commission plan. So there's just so many different things that can create this hard luck story. And without being really awful about it, I mean, I see your tears and I see all of this hard luck stuff, but did you really lose that money, or is that the product you got buying a paycheck that was bigger than the product you got? In which case, go sell your product. Oh, you can't. Well, then maybe you should have thought about that before you joined a company with products that are too expensive to sell. So I have a hard time with it, because it's the underbelly of our industry, but it's not always the companies trying to get people to do this. It's greedy distributors doing what's best for their paycheck and not best for their friends and family. It can be frustrating. So I'm okay with them getting slapped around on this one a little bit.
Yeah, and then he just goes off on some of these crazy rants, like he's all worried about the ranks and the name of the ranks, and he's giving everybody a hard time about being a double black diamond. That's the hardest hill to go down. You're going to crash in.
Play the rank one, Craig. You got to do it. Play the 22.
Hang on.
To builder, to achiever, and beyond. And at Kiani, you pass through a series of ranks with the names of gemstones, as one distributor explained at a company conference.
I want to talk about a millionaire mindset.
Oh,
because if you got involved in
we're actually not gonna play her millionaire mindset right now, because it actually does kind of go.
Talk about MLM ranks being stupid.
Yes.
But hang on a second. Corporate America has very, very well-defined ranks. In fact, it's a running joke in corporate America that if you can't afford to give someone a raise, give them a title, right? I mean, in MLM, at least when you achieve a new title and you're called Ruby, you usually get a pay raise. In corporate America, you get a title raise.
There you go.
I don't know which one's better, but I'm leaning towards MLM.
Yeah, and you, if you look at the ranks and the names of different levels in corporations, they're not easy to figure out either. COO, CEO, CFO, there's a whole bunch of OOs in there. I mean,
but hang on, let's also talk about compliance, Craig. Because do you know what happens if you have an MLM and you start calling your people corporate accepted titles? The government will come in and deem you to have employees, not independent distributors. So you're forced in our industry to use diamond and double black diamond and crown royal and whatever, because if you use sort of standard evolution of corporate position stuff, the government has already been known to come and prosecute that you have staff and now you own all, you have to pay all the employee benefit packages and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, it's worse than it goes on in corporate America. So why is it strange that it goes on in an MLM? But MLM is actually forced to use these quirky names because we're not allowed to do what business is allowed to do.
Exactly. I'm going to move forward to about the 20. Where am I now? Sorry about that, everybody. We're going to move forward about 2335 there, Dennis, okay?
Just look at the income disclosure statements. Kiani's shows that just under 40% of active distributors received a check for $10 or more, meaning that most didn't even make that. And New Skins says around 18% of active distributors earned commission checks, which is actually worse than it sounds because active distributors represent only around 36% of total distributors. So if you do the math, which they conveniently didn't, that would mean that 93% of all New Skin distributors receive 0 commissions from the company in an average month. So
let's talk about that. 93%, that means 7% actually did get paid.
Got paid? Awesome. How many franchises actually make money? Well, what percentage of people who lay out all the money for a franchise make more than just a job? This is on top of your job. So for me, that's a problem. But it also bugs me the way the government has forced the numbers to be reported, right? So basically, this guy's saying that because your company had a whole bunch of people that signed up in order to buy the products at wholesale that never intended to do the business or talk to anyone, he's trying to say that those people should be included in the total number of people who made money. So that's really interesting to me. So does that mean that every person who went and got an information pack about Subway as a franchise should be included in the people who failed to make money as a franchise owner? I don't think so. Now, this is, again, our industry needs to clean up a little bit because it shouldn't be that every single person is joining to become a wholesale member and being put in the commission plan. If they want to be a so-called wholesale member, that kind of defeats the whole purpose because how do you make money retailing product? But a wholesale member shouldn't be included in these calculations in the first place if they basically said they don't want to build a business. So it's really frustrating because the way you're forced to report the numbers puts a spin on them like he came up with. But even with the totally crazy spin, 7% of the people, and I know I've had lots of employees in my day, and I can tell you that there's probably only 7 to 10% of them that really, really try hard and go above and beyond. I'm lucky because the ones I have left are always above and beyond. But I had to go through a whole bunch of them to end up with this team. So I don't know, man. The truth is good enough. If you could report the numbers really clearly instead of the way the government forces you to report them, it would be better. But that said, our industry needs to clean up so there's better delineation between a guy who doesn't want to do the business. He shouldn't be in the comp plan. Give him a discount or whatever you're going to do, but he shouldn't be in the comp plan. Then things would be less confusing.
Sure it would. Then he finishes off the whole video, obviously trying to mock the fact that word-of-mouth marketing, network marketing doesn't work. And it's kind of cute.
And the whole world will know right away.
Yeah.
And that is why tonight we are starting our own pyramid scheme. Hashtag this is a pyramid scheme. Because if someone you know is thinking about joining an MLM, this is a huge opportunity. And let me show you how it works.
Okay, so there we go. So perfect. This is a huge opportunity. And Dennis, I mean, I'm looking right now at the website, and as of he's had this up now for 2 days. 2 days. And right now, so when we started putting this together today, Dennis, we spent a few hours going over what we're going to talk about to explain this. This was only about 3 hours ago. There was about 4.4 million or 4.45 million views. So in the last 3 hours alone, there's been over 100,000 people that have watched his video. Over 4.6 million people in 2 days. When he said, go out there and tell 5 or tell 10, and we're going to show you that it doesn't work.
Now, wouldn't it be cool, Craig, if everyone who happened to catch hold of this video that supports our industry shared our rebuttal, and we could get to 4.5 million views of people learning the other side of what hasn't been said?
His point, I think, is he didn't get the entire world to look at the video.
Right.
Yeah, that's his point. Okay,
only 4.5 million.
The entire world isn't on the internet. The entire world doesn't have access to it. But the fact is, in 2 days, he had over 4.5 million views. That's what it's about. How is that a failure in word of mouth marketing? It just shows the exact opposite. That exactly what we're doing by reaching out, sharing information. Now he went crazy with his little, hey. Woo!
Oh, is this that Steve Jobs thing again?
No, that's him coming out. That's him coming out to start his own MLM. Like, that's a bad thing. I mean, our industry is a great industry. It does need to be regulated. There does need, there are issues with some companies, but everything does. But the bottom line is, if you treat the industry as a business and you join an MLM company, you do your homework and you follow the things that we share. And we share this every week. We share different ideas, what works, what doesn't. We've been involved in this industry now for 2.5 decades. Long time. And we've seen a lot of things that work and a lot of things that don't work. And some things that I even saw on his video made me cringe.
Oh, me too. Oh.
It happens. But if we want to leave anybody, because we're right here at the top of the hour here, Dennis, and finishing off, just a summary of what you'd like to sell somebody about this if they're thinking about getting involved in the industry and this is shared with them, or their downline comes to them all freaked out about this video. Just maybe some parting words on your thoughts.
Well, remember that it's comedy. I mean, he basically said that if you want to lose weight, you should do cocaine. So if you don't find that really hilarious, then maybe you should sue him for saying something terrible. But let's remember then, if he is saying something that he doesn't believe to be true about cocaine and weight loss, maybe he's also saying some things that he doesn't believe to be true about our industry in order to get people laughing and to go viral with 4.5 million views. So let's take it for what it is and realize that he has a lot of stuff that he is perfectly valid on. And he has even more stuff that he's a complete wingnut on. It's just not the way the industry works today. It's based upon a very old model that's just not used. And if you're in a company that has that old model, hey, I'd be concerned. And that's it. I'm not partisan to any company, but if you're in a company that's making you buy tens of thousands of product to get a great big paycheck, I'd be worried. I really would. Because the FTC's made it very clear that they're no longer okay with that old style of MLM.
Right.
You're with a company that has a $100 a month monthly commitment, I think you're probably fairly far up the tree. You're definitely not the low-hanging fruit, and you're definitely not garage qualifying. You're not even cupboard qualifying people. So I think you'll find yourself to be pretty much okay. But make sure your company's focused on retailing product. You're not selling someone $1,000 worth of stuff to use themselves. It has to be about getting that product into the hand of the end consumer to be safe in the real rules that have already been there, and now the ones that appears the FTC are going to start to enforce.
And that's so true, Dennis. I mean, we talk about that when you're going to retail the product to people that say no to the business. And this comes from being taught by your upline from the company. It's a culture that needs to be taught. You don't learn. You've got to learn this business. It's not inherent. If you're not being taught the right ways to build your business, you're not going to build your business. And, in your first MLM, the one that we were involved with together 24, 25 years ago, however long it was, I mean, long time ago, I mean, you had retailed it was like about $1,400 back then.
2 days. And 2 days, I sold all my product, had a few $100 in my pocket, and then I went and bought their $3,000 package and sold that by the end of the week. By talking to as many people I could as fast as possible about this crazy business I just joined. And guess what? Some of them said yes to the business. A whole bunch of them bought the product. Some of them bought the product for years after the fact. I made money every time they did. I didn't get upset about my auto ship. I didn't even, that company didn't have consumable enough products, so people complained about that. I love the fact that they weren't consumable enough because I always had people wanting to buy it from me, so my auto ship was pre-sold long before it ever showed up. So, I mean, get back to the basics and make sure that you're moving product to people who want to enjoy your products at a fair price. If you're selling $293 boxes of soap, probably in a pyramid. If you're selling stuff that's competitive with the local supermarket or the local eco-friendly, because that's what you are, right? You go to Choices and you'll see just how much you can spend on a tube of toothpaste. So don't go saying, oh, their toothpaste more than $1, they're a pyramid. There's $9 toothpaste at frickin' Capers,
Hey, I was at Whole Foods downtown and saw a $100 box of mandarin oranges. Okay, for a box of oranges, it was $100. So
Urban Fare had the $143 square watermelon.
There you go. So it's out there, but keep that in mind, everybody. It is a business. You got to treat it like a business. It's not a get rich quick. You need to be looking for a company that has really got a retail component. If the products can't be retailed, if they're so expensive that nobody's buying any of your products retail, you should be taking a look at your company.
Well, I guess you can say it as if it's so poorly structured that nobody joins your company without actually joining your downline. This is what the FTC ruling against Herbalife has made very clear. That it's not acceptable that everyone who buys your product is a part of the scheme. So if you don't have a retail component where the retail customers don't have the ability to make income, you might be next on the list. And this affects a lot of companies. And I'm not even going to go so far as to say they're all bad because they don't have this. This is a bit of a wake-up call to people who thought they were quite compliant because of their small usage numbers and all of this. So now we're wondering if we are. So definitely having your product in a retailable fashion. Well, hey, first of all, if your product can be retailed, you never lose any money. You get your product, you sell it, you make a profit, right? So that just makes life better. But yes, I mean, the industry's changing. We need to be more cognizant of some things that the government has made it very clear they're going to continue to frown upon.
Great. Well, thanks, Dennis, for taking some time out of your evening. I'm glad, we really, I thought it was a good topic today because it's going to be timely and topical. I mean, as we're sitting here, more and more people are watching that video. I did post the link underneath the video so that people can come in and maybe share this and share this video with your friends. So if your downline is upset about it and they're worried about it, oh my goodness, or if you're one of the companies that is listed, because they listed about a dozen or so different MLM companies in that video, nothing to be worried about. I mean, obviously you're big enough to be on the radar, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, and this video contains a lot of the answers to the questions. So when you get hammered with it by your friend, if you've seen this video, you'll have an idea about how to answer it. So I think it's just really helpful to share it with your teams. And, I don't know that this video going viral is a bad thing with this guy saying bad stuff, as long as the antidote, which explains what he didn't explain, is there, and as long as people keep it in context of it is comedy, and it is talking about a company that's 35 or 37 years old, that the kind of comp plan just doesn't exist anymore today. It's just unfortunate, but I think it's easily overcomable if you watch this video and learn the things we've taught you tonight.
All right. Well, look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks, Dennis Wilson. I'm Craig Peliquin. Have yourselves a great week.
Bye for now.